Hi, and welcome to Force Trek. I'm Mars, and I'm forcing Dade to watch Star Trek.
And I'm Dade, and I'm forcing Mars to make a podcast.
Awesome. We nailed it.
We were trying something new this episode. Mars started us off out. She was so nervous.
I had the shaky grapies, as people say.
I think you nailed it.
Thank you. Thank you
You
very
did
much.
forget to say in the episode we're talking about today
Fuck.
is...
And the episode we're talking about today is Haven. Episode 10, technically 11. But 10. Episode 10. Haven. Not confusing at all.
One episode it was. This
What an
is
episode.
a giant jump in entertainment quality, I would say.
Oh yeah, huge jump in like it feels like an episode from a later season. I forgot it was in season 1.
I told Mars this, I believe when we watched the next episode after this one, but the biggest compliment I can give this episode is that this was probably the first episode where it held all of my attention and I didn't start thinking about something else during the episode.
Should I
That's true, by the way.
Should I start us off?
Yeah. You mind giving us a recap?
Yeah, we're gonna try. I'm trying to get a little more efficient today. I'm gonna recap. We're gonna try some shake it up a little bit.
And funky here.
Disclaimer: we watched this episode a while ago. Not a while ago, but a couple days ago. So it's not the most fresh in my mind, but I'm gonna do my best.
She's doing it without notes, guys.
No notes.
She was going to reread it up, but we're going to see how well she does.
This is purely from my own memory of having seen the episode 5 times. Okay, so the episode opens up with they're going to the planet.
Nice.
They're going to a planet Haven because Deanna is gonna get. I almost said gay married. Deanna is gonna get married to some just dude that
Gary.
Wyatt. His name's Wyatt.
No, I said Gary, gay married.
Oh,
both together.
That's clever. You should write that down.
All right, hold on. Okay, continue.
It's just scroll on the table now.
Yeah, just next time with the sets here, you just, I'll Photoshop in Gary.
I think etching on the. I never considered that. That's really funny. Etching stuff into the table.
Especially because how smooth the table is.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Deanna's getting married. It's an arranged marriage because I don't remember the specifics, but it's basically her dad was human and somebody from that part of their life reached out and was like, hey, our son's gonna get arranged marriage to your daughter. And Deanna's mom was just like, yep, that's how our culture works. That's cool. And they do that. And so that's what's happening in this episode. And they go to this planet called Haven to do the wedding, I think. Or they're just at Haven. I think they're just at Haven. It's just a nice place.
They're kind of floating around it, isn't?
Yeah. They're not. The wedding doesn't take place in Haven. On Haven. It's all on the ship.
They're just talking to the people from there.
But yeah, and then you meet Deanna's mom, my favorite character of all time, Miss Luxwana Troy. Daughter of the third house of DEYD'S, keeper of the sacred. I need to write that. I'm gonna look that up so I can remember that because that's genuinely my favorite thing ever. Luxwana Troy's in here. She shows up. She's wrecking shit. She's got her manservant. She's treating Picard like a dog. It's great.
Who is the guy from Twin Peaks? We'll talk about that more.
That's true. Yeah, Mr. Ohm. And it turns out, Deanna doesn't want to get married to this guy and William Riker's getting jealous because he's their Mzadi. But also Deanna's like, you're being a child because you just want to be a captain. And then Deanna meets up with her new husband who's a doctor and an artist. And it's like super cool and they're like into each other and it's actually they have good chemistry. And then they like have like a dinner party, and at the dinner party Deanna's mom is like super petty because they don't want to do like a traditional Beta Z wedding. And so chaos ensues and Data gets to enjoy it and he's having a great time just watching everybody fight at the dinner party. What else?
Mm-hmm.
Um
You're forgetting something.
oh, the big whole crux of the so while this is happening, this derelict ship that's traveling below warp, which means it's going to take hours for this thing to get even across the solar system. It's flying at impulse, and it's coming into Haven, and it's full of these people that like their whole planet was like fighting, and then they engineered like a plague, and then that plague killed them all, and then they became like they would fly around the universe in these plague ships, and they would get like blown up and stuff. And now this is the last plague ship. Everybody thought they were all dead, but they're back and the plague ship is headed towards Haven. And so they're trying to figure out how to stop that. And then the plague ship's just like, hey, we actually just want to like die on that planet. But
Hey,
yeah.
hey, well, before you do that, well, what's happening with Wyatt? Is he thinking about anything?
Oh
Is
yeah.
there anything that's been happening to him?
I mentioned Wyatt's an artist. He's been drawing pictures of this blonde woman for his entire life, basically. And he thought it was Deanna projecting her mind at him. But it wasn't. It was actually secretly one of the plague women on the plague ship. They don't explain how she does this, but she does. And like he's blown away that that's the woman from his drawings, and
That doesn't look anything alike, by the way.
doesn't look anything like her now. And then they have a nice little scene where Riker's really emotional about Deanna, and he's looking up at the stars, and then Deanna just kind of calls him a little child man for not understanding that like you can love more than one person, and that like it wasn't going to work out, and she was going to wait around for him. And then Wyatt shows up, and he's like, "Oh, is this the nerd you were talking about?" And then you know,
Fucking little boy who wants to be a captain.
little boy wants to be a cab. And then Riker huffs out, and Deanna and Wyatt share a nice kiss, and then Wyatt realizes he wants to go to the plague ship, and then I think he just like knocks out somebody with a hypo spray and just goes over to the plague ship and is like, "I'm a doctor, I'll save them." And also, there's drawings of him on the plague ship, which is
Kind of
weird.
weird.
Yeah, they're just like hanging up in the hallway, and
I feel like feels like grooming a little.
yeah, so it's definitely got bad vibes. But he goes away, and I guess he's gonna cure their plague, and that's the end of the episode, pretty much. Deanna doesn't get married. Luxwana is a little bummed, and she's like kind of hitting on everybody. And then she accuses Picard of being too horny because she can read minds. That's the other thing I should say. Luxwana can read minds because she's a full Beta Z, whereas Deanna can only read emotions. Um,
She's a Sigmazoid.
she's a Sigmazoid. Yeah. So, and that's what happens in this episode.
That's a pretty good recap, honestly.
It's like a good episode of like a drama. It's really fun. I love this episode.
It's like a comedy drama. It feels like if they took a Golden Girls episode and transformed it into a Star Trek episode, which
Yeah.
the best idea ever. Makes it so watchable because Golden Girls is amazing.
It's such a jump in quality, especially from the last episode where it's the battle, and the battle is a good episode. It brings up some interesting themes, but
The
like,
previous episode was Hidden Cute.
oh, hide and cute. I just edited the battle today. That's why I said that. Um, yeah, hide.
Look at me. Hold on. I'm putting up my glasses and I'm correcting the Star Trek.
Actually, hide and cute is episode 10.
If I'm actually looking at my papers right now.
According to the encyclopedia. Yeah. Hide and Q, also a good episode, but Hide and Q feels like it's an episode from like the original series, where it's like it's just like ancient general uniforms and green screen skies and stuff. It's goofy.
It would have been one of the better episodes of the original series, but now it's just kind of like an okay episode, especially next to this one and the episode after this one.
Yeah, and to be fair, that whole episode is basically like a couple different original series episodes, like kind of mixed together anyway. So it already has that vibe. But anyway, this episode we're talking about. I think we should get into the notes because there's a lot of notes for this one.
I bet there sure is. This episode was a
Dense.
non-stop riot from to start to finish.
I had
I
such a
think,
hard time writing notes for this episode.
yeah, I had a hard time just getting through it because I had to pause because I was laughing so hard every scene. This is one of the few times in Star Trek where I feel like I'm laughing because the jokes that they wrote, that they
Yeah,
specifically wrote in for how to come off,
the
not
intentional
because
humor.
somebody did, yeah, not because somebody did something weird and awkward and just completely stupid.
There's okay. So that being said, this is a good segue. Um, so first things first, let's just talk about this.
On the real list.
Talking
Sorry
about
about
like
that.
things that are they're awkward. Picard says this really stupid and weird thing at the very beginning of the episode. I forget what the context of this is, but this is just a quote. Um, Legends are the spice of the universe, Data, because they have a way of coming true. What does that mean?
The context, if I remember correctly, was I want to say they were talking about the planet, and the planet, there's legends that he has the ability to cure
Oh,
anyone, and Data is like, surely you don't believe in something like that in legends, and then Picard's like, well, legends are pretty fucking cool, and they make stuff interesting, Data, and Data's like, I guess I've never thought of it like that.
see, I wasn't sure what the context. I just think it's such a weird. It's like an empty quote, being like, "They have a way of coming
I
true."
like it.
I'm glad you like it.
It's cute seeing Picard be
Not
like
mean.
like yeah, he's not being a little pessimist. He's like it's fun believing in random shit. It can be fun.
No disrespect to that. I don't want to come off like I'm being bitter about that, but
Fuck Picard, you dumb bald motherfucker.
then from that scene, that nice touching scene, speaking of awkward, weird stuff that happens that is like not intentionally funny, we cut to Riker chilling in his quarters, and he's just in. By the way, in full uniform, which isn't that weird, but they do have casual clothes. Um, eh,
But we never see them in it.
yeah, he's sitting leaned back in his chair, and he's watching these two women play harp.
I think
Um,
there's 3 women right there.
no, there's two. I looked up a picture.
Okay, okay.
But he's watching these women play harp, and then we find out he gets like called to the bridge, and we find out that they're actually just like two tiny hologram women, and he just goes, "All right, well, duty calls, ladies," and he has to leave. And I'm just like, what was he? What does he get out of that? Is he just enjoying the song, or like,
Yeah, or is it like a perverse thing where he likes watching specifically pretty women play the harp?
yeah,
Does that turn him on, or is he just enjoying the music? Like his smile didn't convey either, like one specifically.
yeah? It's kind of this weird like it's nothing we need to dwell on, but it's super weird that Riker is just like sitting
I
there.
think it's pretty funny because like at this point from the episodes we've had of Riker, he's kind of a weird dude where I can't really read him. So specifically in this scene, after all those other episodes, it really is like he could just be a huge fucking pervert who's like, yeah, you play those harps.
He is supposed to be
They're
like he's supposed to
strange.
be like a ladies' man, who's
I
charming the
never
pants off
thought
everybody. Don't find him attractive. I
about
don't
that.
personally, but
He it's like watching your uncle try to hit on someone. It's like uncomfortable, and like
uh,
the woman might seem interested in it, and but you're like, how that was not charming whatsoever.
and he has this smile like it's supposed to win you over, but it just doesn't. It doesn't hit.
I told Mars about this, and she kind of confirmed my suspicions a little bit, but he definitely feels he has the same smirk that like Kirk has in
Hmm.
the original series, where he's just kind of like playful, and almost like a little flirty with like everything. But it just comes off weird because they're trying to make him like charming, but he just looks like he's smug, smiling in the weirdest situations. Like, dude, you should not be smiling right now.
He's and it's like also he doesn't have his beard yet. On top of all of that, so it's this extra like you see too much of his face.
I totally forget that he has a beard later. We've been so deep in these season 1 episodes.
Yeah, you don't even get to have the beard. The beard is such a comfort We gotta rough it out, before we get the beard.
It's so scary right now, Mars. I want the beard so bad.
That's actually like a TV trope term. When a show gets like comfortable, it's called growing the beard.
Oh yeah, I've heard that term before.
It's fun.
It's cute.
Well, then immediately after that, uh, a silver box. So a silver box is teleported in from the planet's surface, and for some reason, like I think like Riker and Picard or somebody like the bridge crew is there to meet the box, but then Deanna just walks in and goes, "What's going on?" And then the box's face.
What's going on?
We zoom in on the box's face, and it just is like it's like a dude's face. It's like like a man wearing silver paint. Um, just like, and it's Armin Shimmerman, by the way, who the guy who played one of the Ferengi from the Lost Outpost or the Last Outpost. I forget the name of the episode, but and also Quark later in DS9. But it's very funny. I forgot he was the box in this episode. It's very jarring.
Like random gigs.
Yeah, it's like imagine if like you just were watching an episode of Star Trek and like Will Ferrell is like a nobody character, and then you're like, is that Will Ferrell? What the fuck is he doing there? Why is he purple?
Do you think they just have them on standby, or they just like the director knows them and like, hey, we need someone to play a face in a mask. You want to do that today? Like, yeah, sure, I can hop in the car and I'll be there in 20.
Well, yeah, maybe it's because like they're especially like, hey, we know you can sit in a chair for like 4 hours while we do makeup on you. Just come in. We're gonna paint you silver. Put your face through a hole. It'll be great. You'll get paid. You'll even get credit. It'll be great.
We'll give you a sandwich.
We'll give you a sandwich. We'll feed it to you through the.
Share that sandwich with your friends.
It's not a foot long, even, but we'll give you a knife to cut it up.
You do have to cut up yourself. It is a plastic knife.
Actually, we're gonna need the plastic knife back. We don't have a lot of craft services right now.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you for sacrificing.
Awesome. And here's a plastic cup with hot tea in it that's slowly melting. Here you go.
We don't have a holder for that, so yeah, it will burn your fingers.
Oh, you can't hold it because you're in the box? Okay, we're gonna put it next to you, and we'll send somebody to go. Hey, can you get this person a really long straw? Awesome. They're gonna get you a really long straw. Anyway, I gotta go.
Okay, we actually don't have any straws, so it's going to be cold by the time you get to it.
But that's fine. Anyway, we're gonna need you on set. You're gonna lay down flat and put your face through the hole. Got it?
And you will be getting $5 for this.
Oh yeah, forgot to mention. Budget's a little tight. We spent it all on the silver paint.
But really though, it's like a 2-minute scene, and then he's just gone. Is he a friend or a production member at this point that he just like they're like, hey, we need someone to you put their face in. You want to do it? Yeah, sure.
They just liked him. They were just like, I like the cut of your jib. We're gonna have you come back.
Be a face mask.
We already have a mold of your face. That's perfect.
All right, what's next on the notes? We've talked about a message box a lot.
Yeah, message box invites them all to their wedding and then spits out a bunch of money. It's fun.
Mooney.
And then Riker or Picard like reading the room, realizing that like Riker just heard that his like on and off again girlfriend is gonna get married like kind of out of nowhere. like Picard immediately goes, well, goodbye, and just like leaves, and then Riker just leans against the wall and looks at Deanna.
Which can I say like up to this point, the only implication that they've been kind of a thing was that they had like a brief swing in the second episode, the Naked Together or Naked Now or whatever.
Yeah, and it's like specifically because she's like quote unquote drunk.
Yeah, but everyone's horny in that, so it doesn't feel that special. So now all of a sudden, like the viewers are being told, "Oh yeah, they've been a thing. You guys didn't realize it."
It's an extra funny thing to the scene too that I just realized, or I just remembered. It's not in the teleporter room where they have that little moment. It's in Picard's office. Picard leaves his own office because he realizes how awkward the situation's about to get.
So fucking fun. I love Picard and just how not emotionally in touch he is with others.
Speaking of emotionally in touch, our favorite android, Data, gets a little scene where he almost bumps into Riker and it's really awkward. It's like right after this. It's like Riker leaves the room in a huff and Data is walking in, and it's just like a 5-second scene of them trying to get around each other.
I wish we could play the clip because it's so natural the way like Data walks in, sees Riker, kind of goes to the side, and Riker like stops and then looks at him to say like, oh, okay, he's going off to the side, and like walks around him as Data stares him down as he like walks past him. It's
Yeah.
such like a real little moment that, and I love that little touch.
Yeah. I fucking yeah, this episode has so many good little character moments like that, especially Data doesn't have a big part in this episode, but everything with Data is just the best. I love every scene with Data in this episode.
I mean, that's just Data all the time. He just has all the best stuff.
It's hard carrying the weight of the whole show on his back.
Dude, for real. I legitimately, I don't think if Data was there, this show was like would be like canceled.
Yeah. Well, and then right after that wonderful moment with Data, we get to meet the Miller family, which is Wyatt's family, the people who are gonna marry off, or they're gonna marry their son off to Deanna. Um, and they have like this little like their son is like this little thin artsy poet dude with a turtleneck. Um, and
He is really weird when we first meet him.
he's super awkward. Also, this is the first time he's meeting his new fiance. Do you know what he gives her? He gives her a rose that changes color with her emotions. And it's just kind of a weird gift to give somebody you're meeting for the first time, but also somebody that you're meeting for the first time that's like that could be disappointed in meeting you. Like, why would you want to know right away? Like, what
I
if the
mean,
rose turned purple
they're
and then?
honest.
I guess, but like, you're already getting arranged married. Do you want to know?
I mean, better know now than later, you know.
That's fair. I can't argue that in the long run, but it's a gamble. It's a gamble, Wyatt.
I'll give him a point. I think it's cute, you know. It's a joke on how betazoids can read minds, and
Oh,
most of the time that they're usually honest and very telling of how they feel. So it's kind of like a little play on joke of like, oh, you know, you could just tell me how you feel, but here's a rose.
I didn't
I
even
think
think
it's
about
cute.
that. Actually, that's kind of clever.
I'll give Wyatt a point there. Where I won't give him a point though is he's like acting like a shy little third grader. I just don't know if he hasn't met humans or like any other people besides his parents for years. He's like
Yeah.
he's basically doing the tucking the hair behind the ear, being like, hi, I'm Wyatt.
And it's like you don't even know what he does for like a living at this point. Like all you know is that he's some twerp. Like,
He feels super dorky at this point. He gets better later
oh,
on.
he gets way better.
Spoiler, yeah, way better. But at this point, I was like, damn, Wyatt kind of sucks.
Yeah, but there's a little scene where Picard's like, "Hey, it's okay, Deanna. This is gonna be okay." And then Deanna's just like, "Actually, I mind read him. He's super not. He's not. I'm not what he expected at all."
It's weird. I'm not what he expected. And like, I like to imagine we cut to Deanna's reading Wyatt's mind, and Wyatt's like picturing just like the most curviest bimbo you've ever seen in your life, just like popping titties and shit.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you don't look like that? And it's just like the most unrealistic expectations you could ever have for someone. I just don't get it. Why was he disappointed?
Why is he disappointed? I mean, to be fair, Deanna's not bad looking either. You know,
That's great looking.
this is great. Um,
Way better than the girl he leaves her for, which we'll get into later.
yeah, super
Why I
weird.
think that's kind of weird.
Honestly, I think the show writers are cowards for not keeping him around. I think he could have been a cool character.
I do like Wyatt, but I get it. You know, you can't have your characters marry or be in a relationship that quickly. But I do think they could have done more with it, like with taking away the whole marriage thing, but having Wyatt be like a love triangle character with Riker and Deanna.
Um, After that scene though, we get to meet, and I'm gonna take a minute to really savor this. My favorite character in all of Star Trek, hands down. Like,
I'm going to get a drink. I'll be right back.
hands fucking down, the best character in all of Star Trek, Miss Luxwana Troy, baby. I was so excited. I didn't even spell her name right because also her name is very hard. Her name is Luxwana. How do you spell Luxwana? Um, I've also been saving this fact. Do you know who Luxwana Troy is, or Luxwana Troy is, like the actress?
No.
She is Gene Roddenberry's wife.
Wow, really?
Yeah, right? She's also the voice of the ship's computer, which is something that not everyone notices right away. Kind of fun. Um,
I did know that because I was really into researching about the Star Trek 2000 movies, and I read that fact.
oh, is she in there too?
Yeah, they bring her back to do the voices for that.
Good for her. I'm glad. Um, yeah, she's just every scene is just the best. She immediately comes in and she's using her mind powers to talk to Deanna, and she's like, "Use your mind powers, darling." And Deanna's like, there's humans that they don't do that. We have to talk. And she's like, "Oh, you're boring."
It's so funny too because like as she's doing that, there are humans sitting there, so to
Mhm.
them it's just seeing the mom just like make faces at Deanna, and then out loud Deanna goes, "Mom, we can't do that."
Yeah, there's like no context for like what's going on between the two of them. And
I
then
love those two. They're so fucking funny.
yeah, and then she also has her manservant Mr. Ohm behind her, and she immediately like is like, "Well, Picard, obviously you're the captain, so you have to carry my things. I'm very important because to be fair, she is kind of royalty. She's like a big deal. Looks Swan and
She's
Troy.
royalty to me.
I mean, she literally is. She's like a diplomat for her people. Um,
Yeah, she's my queen.
shut up. Um, and she is just having the time of her life. She's talking up and down. She's making Picard carry her very awkward and gigantic luggage while she like kind of walks in
Picard
front of
was
everybody.
so mad at that, by the way.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to be rude, so he's like letting it happen.
But Deanna's like, Picard's the captain, we can't make him do that. And Picard's like, no, I don't mind.
And Luxwan is like, yes, of course, of course he should do it.
Even though she has like the giant dude servant guy like right behind her. Which, by the way, I didn't mention this, but it's the guy who plays the giant from Twin Peaks. I don't know the actor's name.
It's
but
happening again.
yeah, it's that guy. He's a very good actor. He actually shows up a lot on that show.
Yeah, and he's great and as this character too. It looks like a lot of fun to play this because he's like the character is a mute, or at least it's implied he's a mute. I think he gets one line at the end of the episode, but he's pretty much a silent character. So he just kind of stands there and like smiles and stuff. It's awesome. Um, yeah, and also there's a funny scene too where they're walking down the hallway and Data and Geordi are like hanging out and they just like look at each other like, "Oh, what's going on over there?"
Cute little detail. I love seeing like the other characters off doing their own thing that's not related to the main plot, and just
Yeah.
looking at like, hey, what the fuck's happening?
Especially Data and Geordi, because I like I think they make a good pair. Not like I think they're a fun dynamic between the two of them. Because like Data's a robot, Geordi's an engineer. They're that's it.
I think they've got a good pairing in the sense that Jordy is like kind of looks out for Data a bit, and kind of knows what it's like to be picked on, and Data gets picked on a lot.
Yeah, they're
So
also always hanging out at the helm together.
exactly. So I could see some. I'm interested in some episodes betwixt them.
Um, yeah, Picard dips the second that Picard doesn't have to carry that luggage. He's out of there, and that's because the
Well,
hostile ship shows up, so he's got to go. What was your question?
I didn't have to. I just said he books it.
Oh, he books it. I thought you said it what's. Anyway,
No.
uh, what else? Yeah, and then you get to have this nice little moment with Deanna and her new husband, where he like reveals a ton about himself. He's like, "Yeah, I'm a doctor. I've been studying really hard. Actually, I'm really good at it. Also, I'm an artist, and like this is the woman I've been drawing." And he's like a million drawings of this blonde woman with like what are those bangs called? They're like super wispy, huge.
Just 80s.
Yeah, just
80s
imagine the
baby
most
hair,
80s hair you can picture, and that's what this woman has.
which I'd like to know. All those drawings look like completely different women.
Yeah, no drawing looks the same.
I can't believe that they're like, yeah, I've been having the same woman, and it really could just be any woman just with blonde hair.
Yeah. It's like I get it. I get why it was probably easy just to, like what I imagine happened is they drew the concept art first and then just went and found an actress who kind of looked like that. Like it was probably way easier than just like finding an actress and being like, okay, now I have to commission portraits of you from our concept art team.
Which I also kind of feel like maybe helps the idea that even he doesn't quite exactly nail it, which I guess could be fun because it's like, I see her in my dreams all the time, but I can't quite express how she looks, you know?
Yeah, and he does. He also does mention the fact that like he thought it was Deanna because he's been like seeing them a bunch, and he thought Deanna was just like impressed. Which, by the way, how would Deanna do that? Because that would make the range of her powers insane.
Be very OP.
But also, it's not really explained how the other side did it either.
Yeah, because they're not a race that does that.
They're not even advanced. Like they don't have warp. They're just flying along. Like they don't have the ability to jump long distance. Like how the fuck do they have like intergalactic communication indoctrination?
Yeah, but we'll get more into that stuff later because I feel like that's more later conversation stuff once we get to the finale of their scene. But there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense
Yeah,
about them at the start nor to the end.
but I guess they're really just an ends to the means because there is a nice scene with Wyatt in this moment where him and Deanna are like kind of talking. They actually have genuine chemistry. Like they're really good together. I actually kind of wish he stayed because like
I'll say that they're warming up to each other. I
I
I don't know if I would quite say that great chemistry in that scene. They
as
definitely have a lot of better chemistry later.
well, there's like that little moment where he's like, oh, like I'm a medical doctor, or she's like, you're a medical doctor, and I'm like a counselor, like you help the body, I help the mind, and like we could make this work. She's like seeing the silver lining of it, and then yeah, yeah, and then she mentions the
That
fact
part,
that
like, it's cute, but I don't know. At that point, Wyatt was still like really awkward and weird. And if I have to keep watching him be like that in every episode, like I don't know, it just feels weird because Riker's he's a dickhead, but he's at least pretty confident, so you can at least take him a bit more seriously.
well, like it's funny too. You mentioned that. Deanna actually kind of reveals a little something about herself in this episode. 'Cause she talks about Riker being jealous and stuff. She's like, "Yeah, I have like an ex on the ship, and he's kind of jealous, and like he just wants to be a starship captain, and like that's really weird what he wants to do." And she's like getting into all of that. And then she just drops this little fact, but it kind of like puts into context everything she's done before this, or at least to me it does. Where she's just like, oh yeah, no, everyone in this every humans are usually like they say one thing and they mean another. They're like usually humans are like lying. And it's really weird for me because I'm a betazoid, and we just like we can't lie to each other. Um, and it's just like I get used to it. And it's like a little thing she drops and it kind of is like, oh my god. Does that mean like every time somebody thinks a plan of hers is dumb, she just knows immediately? Like it's people are like making fun of her. She just knows.
I mean, has she ever had any good plans?
Yeah, but wouldn't it suck to have absolute confirmation that if they think you're stupid?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm curious about too, and I kind of wish they went into it more because there could be some interesting stuff with Deanna's relationship with the actual Enterprise crew. Because previously, we know that she does have connection to their minds if
Hmm.
they allow it. So I'm on the assumption that everyone on the Enterprise
Is
is
on
just
guard.
like I wouldn't say on guard. I would say they're just generally nice people, or they'll just
Hmm.
flat out tell her like because they don't because it's part of the Federation, isn't it, to not lie? Like, oh, I'm part of the
We're in the
Federation.
Federation.
Don't
We don't
lie.
lie.
I'm assuming that's an actual rule, or at least somewhat a rule that
Mm,
they all try to follow to a pretty good degree.
yeah, they're trying to be good people. I would, yeah, maybe they're not so petty, but I get
They
it.
do come across petty.
Yeah, but to her, I think that's the funniest part is that like Deanna is like, yeah, sometimes people just lie to me, but it's okay, it's whatever, I'm fine.
Does she say people lie to her?
She just mentions that like humans say one thing and mean another, and that like
I think
sometimes people will like
that
be
could
like,
be
I'm
more of a
okay.
I think that could be more of a general observation though, and not like a malicious thing.
I don't think it's malicious, but I think it's an interesting little like drop of like lore about her that like I did not think about at all. Like that she's just like, yeah, I'm completely aware of how people feel about me. I don't know. It's like
Well,
it gave
that's
her
under
character
the
some depth.
assumption that people are thinking bad things about her.
Well, not even that, I guess. You know, it could she just knows where she stands with everybody. You know, except for Data, I
Yeah, I
guess.
guess.
She doesn't know anything about Data.
Oh, can she not like? I mean, I guess she can't. Being a android.
Well, suppose there's a few species Betazoids can't read in canon. One of them is Ferengi. Does Ferengi have like weird shaped brains? I guess. But yeah,
Yeah,
Data is one of them.
sure. Also, I think the conversation you're talking, I could be wrong. Maybe they do mention during the Y. I thought that part was during when she was talking with her mother.
She does mention it with her mother, but she brings it up again with Wyatt.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Because I remember the mom specifically saying that, like, "Oh, it's so tiresome. Humans always saying one thing and then meaning in the other."
yeah, well, that's what prompts her saying that is what prompts Wyatt to show her the pictures of the woman that he's been having dreams about because he's like, well, since we're being honest, he's like, here's this thing.
I see.
Um, oh, it's a Torellian vessel. I just saw in my notes. The people are called Torellians. Um, and there's like in my notes, it just is basically just like, yeah, there's a plague and the ship has the plague, and Beverly is there to be like, she shows up on the bridge and is like, oh shit, that's a plague ship. And then Bev disappears for the rest of the episode. Uh,
Thanks, Bev.
thanks, Bev. Thanks for confirming.
She became the Deanna of the episode.
Yeah, that is kind of Bev. When it's not a Deanna episode, you get 2 seconds of Bev and 2 seconds
No,
of
no. When
Yara.
it is a Deanna episode, you get 2 seconds of Bev.
Thank you. Um,
She becomes the stand-in Deanna of the episode.
oh yeah, that's right. They do like they're on the bridge all together, and I think Picard just announces the wedding. He's like, "Oh yeah, hey, there's a wedding. Deanna's getting married. Uh, everybody, there's gonna be a dinner tonight." And then like Riker just like leaves, just gets up and
Immediately.
he's just all emo.
So fucking funny. Like, that he's just this emo about it.
He's so fucking pissed. But then that leads in right. He leaves all pissed, but then he comes to the dinner party later that night anyway. Um, just so fucking
Oh,
funny.
the dinner party scene.
I love the
Yeah, are
dinner
we
party.
able to talk about it now? Or are we
Oh
there?
yeah, baby, we're at the dinner party scene.
So good. Again, so something I feel like we haven't mentioned. Again, if you've never seen Star Trek, this is the only reason I'm explaining this. But Wyatt's parents and Deanna's parents hate each other
Mm.
like a lot, to the degree where one of them, Deanna's parents, waited for the others to leave
Oh
before they got
yeah.
on board. And so during this whole scene, they're being very catty to each other, both the moms, and
Mm.
it's hilarious. It is full like Golden Girl type bickering, and maybe one of the best scenes in Star Trek I've seen so far.
Yeah, I'll say this. If you have not been watching, if for some reason you're not watching Star Trek along with this podcast and you're just like soaking it in through us, I highly recommend looking this scene up on YouTube because it is so good. It's because like Luxwana is just like being a bitch the whole time, and she's like, no, everybody has to be. Oh my god, yeah. Well, actually, I don't want to spoil what Luxwana talks about because there's some good stuff in it, but it's so it's just everyone is on their best. Data is just walking around the room in circles, just like looking at the. He's not sitting with everyone. He's just watching the party with Mr. Ohm, who, by the way, Mr. Ohm. this whole scene, like throughout the whole thing, he is drinking and hitting a gong, and that's it. It's so fucking funny. Like you just cut back to Mr. Ohm. He's a little drunker, and he hits that gong, and then maybe every once in a while in the background you hear gong, and then by the end of it, he's just totally drunk, just hitting it every 2 seconds.
I love Wyatt's mom being like, does he have to keep hitting that gong? Like, it's just show thanks for the food.
Yeah, and I think also too, like in that scene, like Wyatt is talking with Beverly about like how to solve the plague issue, and he's like, "Yeah, actually, I studied viral viruses, and blah blah blah." And she's like, "Oh, I'd like to confer on it with you." And then every 2 seconds, bing, bing, and they're just like they just can't get through it.
It's so fucking funny. And I don't know when, but Riker does like leave pretty quickly. Like he hears some news that immediately makes him like, can I be excused? He literally he stands up and then looks at Picard like, I would like to research more about our problem. May I be excused? Picard has to be like the dad, being like, yeah, that's quite all right. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then while that's happening too, Data walks past Picard, and Picard just stops him and goes like, "You're circling the room like a buzzard. Stop it." And then Data continues to circle the room.
Well, Data's like, I'm just having too much fun, sir. Like, he's not even like, usually he listens to Picard when Picard's telling him he's being weird. He's like, hell no, I am doing this. This is fucking awesome.
Uh, yeah, and then what's it called? Luxwana is describing wanting to have a Betazoid ritual, and
Wait.
yeah, please, please.
There's something that leads up to that I think is really funny. The Wyatt's mom originally just out of the blue asks, "Oh, Captain Picard, would you like to officiate the wedding?"
Oh, that's right.
Picard's like, "If you will have me, sure, I'll do it." And then like immediately, Deanna's mom is like, "We are not having a human wedding."
We're
And then
having a traditional Betazoid wedding.
and what does that entail, Mars? Well, what's in a Betazoid wedding? What do we have to look forward to?
Well, obviously, the bride and groom are naked.
Isn't everyone naked in a traditional
Yeah,
Betazoid?
I think everyone's supposed to go naked, but Luxwana goes like, "Yeah, so everyone's naked, and the bride and groom are naked," and then Yar cuts in and goes, "The bride and groom go naked?"
They go naked?
Like that, exactly like a YouTuber.
Oh, can we talk about too? Yar, just so this is supposed to be a nice dinner, I guess,
Yeah,
and everyone's like a little prettied up, but Yar specifically has a brand new
it looks
hairdo that
so
like
good.
it's all right. It's
I
good
like
for
it.
that one scene, but it's just so weird because she's wearing her work uniform with this very nice hair, and the only thing she says is, "The bride and groom go naked."
The bride and groom go naked?
Like she sounds like such a little kid saying it.
She's like
Like
leaning over the table, her neck is like stretching. She's like,
it's a
"What?"
big shit-eating grin. Like just like I imagine you have to see some weird shit being around aliens and like all those cultures and having to research, but for some reason it just piques her interest so much that the Blyma and Gloom
The
get naked.
Yar hasn't said anything this episode. Like maybe she's had a couple like on-screen captain or just like little lines, but this was like her big line for the episode, so she wasn't gonna miss it. She had to get it out. She had to be on screen. They can't cut this one.
I replayed it like I don't know 3 or 4 times. I thought it was so fucking funny the way she said it.
Yeah, more incentive to watch the dinner party scene, honestly. But
Oh, and then after that, if if you watch that scene and you hear her say it, type in a Mr. Show Froyo and
yeah,
go to the part where he's like, "What are you talking about? It tastes just like real yogurt." And then play those scenes back to back. They sound exactly alike.
they are identical,
It's
identical
like she
characters.
studied that scene to say it that way.
Um, Also, just after or just before that, I think in the scene doesn't matter, but in my notes it's just before. Uh, Luxvana like fucks with because she's sitting right next to the groom's mom, and to fuck with her, she's like, "Oh,
Wyatt's mom.
yeah, yeah, Wyatt's mom," and she's like drinking, and she just kind of like slyly looks over at her and just goes, "Oh, so and so, I don't remember. Do you like pets?" And she's like, "Oh, I love pets. Pets are so cute." And then Luxwana has like this vine wrapped around her arm, and she just like kind of like is like puts her arm near the lady, and she just goes, "Well, I'd love for you to see my new pet." And it's like the vine starts like wiggling and then touching the mom's hand, and the mom just starts screaming and freaking out. She's like, "Oh my god, what the fuck?" Which, I mean, it's a little vine. What's it gonna do?
Well, I mean, I guess you don't know. Maybe it's the equivalent of like a space snake. Maybe.
Yeah, it's
I used to see people when I worked in a pet store, Mars, that if they came in, they would say, "Where are the snakes? I want to watch." Like immediately when they walked in the store, they would say, "Where are the snakes? I want to be on the opposite side of the store of them. I do not want to even look at them." So like idea of some prude old lady being like, "Oh, the leaf is touching me," like tracks.
God, imagine working at a Star Trek pet store. Just like
Be a nightmare.
dogs with horns and living vines and other animals, targs.
Targs, the little warhogs.
Um, oh, and then also like on the topic of Luxwana stirring trouble, she immediately goes like, she tells the wife like, "Well, your husband was interested in seeing me naked," because she can like read people's minds, and then a full fight ensues. And at this point, Data is hanging out with Mr. Ohm, like kind of in the background, and like, like they're just all fighting, and then Deanna just snaps, and she's just like, "Stop this petty bickering," and then just runs out of the room.
Wait, no, she does not just run out of the room.
No, what does she
She
do?
gets up, goes around the whole
Oh,
table,
that's right.
and then fucking smacks the
Open
gong
hand from the belly, wind back, smacks
with
it.
pure violence. Like she did not have. It wasn't like she bumped into it or anything. She was so fucking pissed. It came out of nowhere, by the way. She's just like, they're in the middle of the conversation. He's like, "Stop this violence!" And then she like gets up, smacks the fucking gong, and then walks out.
She specifically says too, "Stop your petty bickering," and then does that, and then Data watches her do that, and then just goes, looks at the crowd and just goes, "Please continue your petty bickering. It's quite interesting." Like just straight faced.
So good. Data's amazing.
Oh
Go watch. You know, we're not going to talk about the scene anymore. Go watch it right
yeah,
now. It's so fucking funny. We're
it's
not doing it justice.
it's it's like if that doesn't convince you to watch Star Trek, I don't know what will. Like,
Just skip all the other episodes up to the. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, you know, if you've been listening to this
You will have to
podcast,
suffer through all of it.
to earn your stripes as a Star Trek fan, at least for the next generation, I recommend watching the first season, but just you don't have to look at the screen the whole time.
Yeah, just skim it. You know, read some TLDR notes maybe if you want to.
Especially for that first episode, you're a champ if you want to watch the first episode. It's long. We've talked about it plenty. Um,
Can you imagine watching that episode and be like, "Wow, first episode is the best one." Like it really goes downhill from there.
it gets worse.
Recommend them at that point. Just rewatch the first like 7 episodes of this and then watch original series and that's it forever.
That's it. That's all that's good about Star Trek.
To that particular person.
Um, Also,
Next on this, what's next?
yeah, next on our notes, Deanna goes to visit Riker in his emo chamber where he's looking up at the stars.
But I thought he was taking notes on how to stop the evil aliens.
Nope. He was hanging out on the holodeck, which this is also funny to me. I know it's again, this is one of those things where you could be like, Mars, there's an explanation, but if you really think about it, it's very funny because Riker is from Alaska and his calm, quiet, peaceful place is in the middle of the fucking desert. And I don't know, there's just something very funny about that to me, like being from the snow and you're like, a place where I really can like find myself, the desert.
I mean, it is funny, but also at the same time, like Alaska's cold.
It's fair.
I don't know if I would want to go sit in the snow. It's like people from Florida, you know.
Replicate a hoodie.
They would. I'm not going to go replicate a hoodie just so I can sadly stare at the stars
That would
in
be
the deck.
that would be so funny though if Deanna walked in and he's got a hoodie on over his uniform.
just sitting there on like a rock. That would be hilarious. I'll give you that.
Yeah, yeah. The funny thing too is like he's sitting there all lonely looking up at the stars, and then she appears behind him, and then she kind of just roasts him for like a
Wait,
minute or two.
can we talk about his pose?
Yeah, he's a little thoughtful, like,
He's
oh,
sitting on the rock with his right knee up to his like face. His arms are
mhm.
draped over it, and his leg is like off to the left. And he just looks like such a little sad boy
And he's
with
leaning
the
his
like
head on his
happiest
hands.
expression ever.
He's he's so ridiculous because it's like this is a girl you dated and then you didn't like commit to dating her because you wanted to be a captain. Why are you mad? You did
Yeah,
this.
you really have a right.
It's ridiculous. Um,
She doesn't come in mean though at first.
no, but she's kind of like she kind of like compares him to a Betazoid like child a little bit. Like on her planet, like people understand that you can love more than one person. And she's like she really does call him a child, I think, in that scene. And then
Oh yeah, but at first though, they're a little understanding of each other. Riker's
yeah,
actually the one who's mad first when she
oh,
walks in.
100%. Riker's the one at
She's like,
fault.
she's like, can I sit down? Do you mind? And he's like, I don't know. Can you? He doesn't say that, but that's like the vibe you get from him.
Yeah, she's like, well, yeah, she's like, okay, well, you're just, come on, you can like multiple people, you know. Um, and then like a second later, Wyatt walks in for some reason. I think Wyatt's like, oh, where did Deanna go? She just left the party. I gotta go check on her. And then she like goes into the holodeck and I think what is it? What did she say? Like Wyatt's like, oh, yeah, you're the guy who wants to be a captain, right? And then Riker shoots Deanna the nastiest look. Like, you've been telling other people about my ambitions? And then Wyatt just goes, yeah, good luck with that ambition. And Riker just leaves the holodeck, like, immediately.
Yeah, he's furious. He's storm. The look he gives Deanna when Wyatt says that's so funny. It's straight up like a you told him.
You fucking
You
told
told
him.
him that I wanted to be a captain, didn't you?
This is ridiculous.
Like honestly, being a captain in this role not a bad like title to have, but saying it out loud sounds so funny. You do sound like a little kid. Like I
Well,
want to be a captain of my own ship someday.
it's like somebody being like, I want to be a YouTuber. Like, like, yeah, people can become that, but you gonna admit it?
I'm gonna say that out
I'm gonna
loud.
say
Like
it
you
out
just
loud.
a little kid. It's like a Riker was like, I wanted to be an astronaut. Why'd you tell people about that?
But yeah, that's the funniest part about it. Is like he's ashamed by having a very normal goal.
Yeah, it makes sense for his like position that he would want to be a captain someday.
Which yeah, Riot like or Wyatt. Jesus, I got Riker and Wyatt mixed up. Riot. That's my couple pairing for them if they got together. Riot. Um, yeah, Wyatt basically big dicks him, and then Riker just leaves.
Yeah, I have to say, Wyatt becomes weirdly calm at this point, very like talkative. Like
Yeah,
before, he was very shy and like weird around Deanna, and here he's like, "Oh, you're the guy who wanted to become the captain." Like, then fucking Riker like storms off, and Wyatt's apparently a normal person now because they actually have a talk here, and this is the first time where I was like, "Okay, I can actually see some." Like back and forth, like they're actually pretty interesting now. The way that they like talk to each other,
yeah, they have like a
I
little
think this is really where they start getting good.
yeah, and they have this really cute exchange about like Wyatt's like, yeah, they ended up figuring out how they're gonna do the wedding, like, that we're gonna do like, it's like you and me will be naked and my your mom and my dad, but not my mom. And he was like, I even caught my dad posing naked in front of the mirror, and then he like kind of does like a little like mimic of his dad like trying to suck in his gut, and they just like share a little laugh together. It's nice. It's a genuinely good scene.
Don't they make a joke too about like, oh, people will have to wear half the clothes or something?
Yeah, something to that effect. Yeah, it's
It's very cute that the chemistry actually starts feeling like palpable there, of like to a point where, especially after the Riker shit,
yeah,
and again, this is after the Q episode where Riker's looking really bad at this point because Riker was fucking asshole during the whole Q episode.
Yeah.
which I have a theory that they had Deanna gone for the Q episode because it would be so plainly obvious that she should not be with him if she was there to witness the guy that he became when he became a Q.
His arrogance. It's
Like,
like
he
what
became
he
a
does
dick.
with God powers.
Yeah, like what the fuck would he have done if Deanna was there? That would have been scary.
And Deanna, I will clone myself so you can date him, and I can become a
Deanna,
captain.
I I will create a copy of you naked at all times.
Deanna, naked, all safety protocols off. Um, yeah, and they have a little kiss. Wyatt and Deanna. It's nice. It's like it didn't feel forced. I'm like used to things being feeling forced on this show. It didn't feel forced. I appreciated that.
Yeah, it's cute.
Let's see. The plague ship inches closer after that, and we get to see what the people look like, I guess. And surprise, surprise, they're just like
They're just people.
they're just people. They're just people wearing like beach outfits that and all of their shoulders are exposed.
Everything looks like it's from the 60s on their ship and clothes.
Yeah, like the women look like they're wearing curtains around their bodies, and the men have these like long sleeve blouses that have like the shoulders are cut off. So it's like you can just their shoulders are like exposed. Um and everything's purple and there's a lot of spheres and balls everywhere. It's a
Very 60s.
it's a very 60s ship. Um and yeah, this is when we find out they're just like, yeah, we just want to die on the planet. Please let us die on the planet. And the people on the planet are like, no, you have an extremely deadly plague.
Aren't they asking Picard at this point, like shoot that ship down immediately? What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, they're literally like, kill those people. I think because there's only like 8 of them left or something. Fuck, what are they called?
The plague people.
They have a name. I have it in my notes.
Yeah, but let's not like waste a bunch of time trying to remember it. Let's just
Torellians, Dade. How could you be so callous?
oh boy, I'm glad that we remembered at the last minutes of this episode that they're called Trillion.
And then Wyatt sees her and he's like, that's the woman. It doesn't look like her, but whatever.
Yeah, I guess she's blonde.
This is actually where things kind of pick up to get to the end of the episode. It's kind of, that was all the meat and potatoes. After this, it's just kind of like event after event. Because then Wyatt's like, oh, I have to get over there. And he like gets a bunch of medical equipment together and he sneaks onto like a teleporter and he teleports himself. I think what they were gonna do is give them.
First, he says goodbye to his parents.
Yeah, he has like a little like genuine goodbye to everybody.
But like nobody kind of realizes what he's doing. I feel like Deanna knows, just isn't saying anything.
She's probably like, oh, thank God.
Oh, thank God! I don't want to fucking do that.
He was cool. I went on a couple dates with him, but you know. Ugh.
Yeah, can we talk about at this point? Like, I get it. He's had connections with this lady in his dreams, like his whole life. But I don't know. His connections with Deanna started becoming like so like realized and real that like I kind of wish he had a little bit more conflict at least because
Yeah.
it seemed like he was trying to have a good time with Deanna, and then he's like, "Oh, it's that girl. Okay, no, yeah,
I
I'm
gotta go.
definitely there."
Which okay.
Or like I don't know, should I have to do this?
That actually makes me want to bring this up too, because we kind of hinted at it a few times and kind of briefly talked about it, but the Torellians are weird for this because it's implied that for years, I don't remember if it was like his whole life, but I think it's just for like the last while, he has been seeing
I think it's his whole life because he says ever since I was a little boy,
Illy.
and there's pictures of him aging in
That's
the
right. Yeah, because when he so spoiler alert, Wyatt teleports over to the Torellian ship and he gets the plague. But while we're seeing him teleport onto the ship for the first time, he's walking through this hallway to the bridge, and there are just portraits of him, these big circle portraits, and each one is him young, and he just gets slightly older in each one. It's so
yeah
bizarre.
yeah. Let's talk about this here because because you said this, they're not a species that can do this, and this doesn't really get explained,
They have like powers or like
and it doesn't even seem like the people are that interested in Wyatt as a person, but more as just like a means to save them. Which I don't know. Like I get it, Wyatt wants to help people and shit, but it just feels so weird here because it's like they're pretty much been slowly grooming him in his entire life to be
yeah.
like, come help us, save our species and stuff. And it's just a little weird, like that he kind of doesn't feel like, at least it doesn't seem like he feels like he has a choice in it. Because second he sees them, he's like, well, I have to go help them.
Yeah, and he just especially after like actually having like a genuine connection with Deanna and like he could have had a future and like it kind of would have been interesting, but he's just so obsessed with this woman he's been seeing his whole life that he just foregoes all of that. And like also just like is like, yeah, I'll get the plague. I might die
Yeah,
a horrible death for
fine,
this woman I just met.
because again, it's just him being sent. It's not like he's working with anybody else to try and figure this out.
Yeah, it's and it's like we don't even know how good of a doctor he is. We just know that he's studied plagues.
It's odd. It's really only there just so that Deanna doesn't end up with him, but it's still kind of lame because they are actually showing some genuine connection at that point.
And also, this just needs to be brought up, but for people dying of the plague, they look fine.
Like perfectly fine. Haven't they been like going around for years now?
Yeah, generations basically. Like or at least like at least for the last like 50 years or something. So like it's wild that like they don't even talk about the plague exists, like what it does. It's just like, yeah, it's a plague, it's horrible.
They equate it to leprosy because like
Yeah.
it's like my boy's becoming a leper.
Yeah. So it's like what the fuck? It's like all of these people are just like beach babes. They all have like great bods and their shoulders are out in the open. I know I'm focusing on that, but it's just such a weird costume choice. They all seem okay.
All stupid to me with Star Trek. They all have stupid fucking outfits for the aliens.
They,
But
yeah.
specifically here, I would say it's kind of weird. They don't even sound sick or tired or anything.
Mm.
They're just perfectly fine, and they're saying, "Oh, we just want to die here," and that's basically it.
Yeah, but then they get Wyatt and they're like, actually that was secretly our plan. We were gonna try to lure Wyatt to our location, which I don't know how that was gonna
They
work.
reveal that, by the way. That's not like Mars being hyperbole. They're like, "No, this is actually what we came here
Straight up.
for. The other thing was kind of a lie. We really were here for Wyatt."
Yeah, we were just trying to freak you guys out so that we could talk to Wyatt. Which,
Which
and everyone's cool with this, by the way. Everyone's cool with it. Like it is just Wyatt does this, and his parents are kind of bummed, but everyone else is like, sure, whatever.
I just wished that it was more like at the end there they just came clean and had a conversation of like of being like, we believe Wyatt. We have someone who's been having visions, and we believe Wyatt could have something. Is there like any way that we could work with them or
There
something?
just
It
wasn't enough time.
just feels so like hypnotizing and kidnapping at the end.
You know, this feels like the plot of a movie more than an episode. Like it feels like this is two plots in one. It just feels like there's
Yeah.
so much more that needs to be expanded on.
Well, I mean, that whole B plot is really only there just to get rid of Wyatt because they
Yeah,
can't have Deanna marrying someone,
the
but they
the
want to explore the idea of Riker being jealous.
the Tellarians are basically a big trash can they're gonna sweep Wyatt into by the end of the episode.
Pretty much, like a lot of things become obvious when you look at it through like having to make a TV show lens. This is
Mhm.
definitely one of those where they probably were just more interested in, well, what would Deanna's family be like, and how would Riker feel about this? And they barely cared about like that species dying or whatever.
Yeah, and there's this nice little or this funny scene at the very end. And I don't think it's intended to be funny, but it's basically just like Picard is saying goodbye to everybody, and Wyatt's parents are leaving, and they're just like super bummed 'cause their son is like getting the plague, and they're just like, okay, well, bye everybody. And then everyone's like, yep, all right, see you. And Luxwana walks into the room because she still hates them. After they leave, she walks in, and then
Yeah.
and then her and Picard have this little moment where she's like, Luxwana's like, well, since you didn't get married, Deanna, maybe I should get married. And she like goes over to Riker and is like, do you want to get married to me? And then she's like, no. And then she goes over to Picard and she's like, you want to get married to me? No. Just like gets on the teleporter with Mr. Ohm.
She points out that Picard, she's like, he's been having thoughts about me the entire time I've been here, and like Picard looks like a whore in church, like he's fucking sweating, like what? No, that's not.
No.
I am not. And then the second she leaves, he's like, Deanna, I don't want you to think that I've been like having. And then Deanna's like, oh, she was just fucking with you, and he's like, well, I don't like being fucked with.
I mean, for all we
Very
know, Luxwana's telling the truth.
Yeah, I feel like Deanna was just trying to, like, she knew that Picard thought that, but was just trying to make him feel better.
God. Yeah, that was a good ending too. Just Luxwana like kind of taking the edge off. Luxwana is just messing with everybody.
Yeah, it's a great ending to a very fucked up situation when you think about it.
On paper, dark, very dark. In the episode, it's fine.
Oh yeah, the whole episode is so funny. Like these weren't even really that big of problems for me when I was watching it. I wasn't like, oh, but why'd they take him away and shit? Like I got it.
Hmm. It
It
all
was
makes
a fun
sense.
time. I would rather. This is the episode I've talked about this like previous episode where I think it was literally the last episode where I was like, I feel like at this point with Star Trek, I just have to start accepting it as a sitcom where just dumb shit happens,
Well,
and I just have
that's
to accept that. And this episode is exactly that. And the second I started looking at it through that lens with this episode, it became so entertaining.
see, I didn't want you to be like to like think of Star Trek as like a joke, because there are genuinely good episodes, but like I can't defend Star Trek when the next after you saying that the next two episodes are just the silliest. Technically, the last three episodes, or like Hide and Q, this one, and the next
It
one.
wasn't that super silly though.
I mean, it's where it starts. It's like a warms you up. It's like silly-ish, and then it's just a straight up romp with funny jokes, and then we get the next episode, which we'll talk about next time.
Yeah, that immediately jumps in quality. These ones are hilarious, and honestly, I think the show works better when it's going more for a comedy.
Yeah, because everyone else takes themselves so seriously.
The characters are, like just better for it in general. Worf being a like this Klingon who's all about like fighting and shit, but he doesn't get any chance to do it, so he's just like foaming out the mouth, and then like Data being this android nerd who's always like trying to figure out shit about the world, and Picard being like this like emotionally inept dude. Like everyone's set up so perfectly for comedy. It's kind of funny that there are episodes where they're trying to make it serious. And I'm sure there'll be some good serious episodes later, but holy shit, all these characters are so much more suited for comedy at this moment.
So what would you rate this episode on your rating scale?
Because we're switching it around. Because you usually
Yeah, like
go
that.
right first. Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't forget. I remember.
So overall, I'd say it was a really good episode. I think this is one of my favorite episodes. It's probably second or first favorite. The next one's really good too. So I'm kind of debating which one's first at the moment. Super hilarious. Deanna actually gets something to do in the episode.
Yeah,
Which,
she's a great character in this episode, honestly.
hey guys, for my thing of was Deanna useful this episode? She was. She
She
was
was
useful for the
instrumental.
whole episode. Overall, I would give this episode a 9 out of 10.
Nice. That's high praise from you.
Very high praise. Like I said, this episode and the next episode were the first episodes where I was paying attention the whole time. I didn't just start thinking about something else or start going, oh my god, I can't wait for them to stop talking. It was all very entertaining from start to finish. It felt like I was watching a show.
as a big Star Trek fan, I don't want to hear you say things like this, but I have to understand, that what you've seen so far of Star Trek, that is so fair that you haven't been giving it your full attention, especially like those early episodes, those
I
first
try
like
to give
four.
my attention. I start falling asleep,
I
and
don't blame you.
so repetitious that I just start thinking about other things.
I don't even bother to watch these episodes if I'm like, oh, I want to watch some Star Trek. I don't watch these ones. Like I avoid season one like a Torellian plague ship.
Uh-huh.
But yeah.
All right. What do you think about the episode, and what would you rate it?
Have I given a 10 out of 10 yet?
I don't think you have.
Okay, I'm gonna save it. I want that to be special.
Okay.
This is definitely a 9 out of 10 for me. It's an almost perfect episode.
Tell me your thoughts on it. What'd you think of it?
So I forgot this episode was in at this point of the show. I thought this episode came way later.
Mhm.
And it was such a pleasant surprise, especially because, again, like I said, Luxwana is my favorite character, and every
Is
episode,
Luxwana your favorite?
she's my favorite character. You know what? I'm gonna get a picture of Luxwana in here somewhere.
That'll be great.
In our recording booth.
Just
But
a framed photo of her right next to Picard.
just a it's not his, it's mine. Can you
There's
hang?
a kiss mark, a Bandicoot kiss mark on it.
I was just thinking about this. Can you hang up pictures? I mean, you have to. Like, there's art hanging up in people's rooms, but like, can you just like put a nail in the wall on the on the ship?
It's a good question. I feel like there's probably some Star Trek explanation of how they do it, and it's like some nanotechnology or something.
Yeah, it's like, oh, these are styroplaster plastic walls. Yeah, that you could treat it just like drywall.
It once you take the nail out, it'll automatically regenerate what was there before.
Isn't that so? We have plastic glass. Fuck you. We're Star Trek.
Yeah, we don't give a goddamn shit.
This episode, I gotta say too, with this episode, I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed like Deanna getting a chance to not just be, "Hell, Captain, I can't read him," or "Captain, he's lying," where she actually gets to be a person.
About the most lying person ever.
Yeah, like someone's like they're like rubbing their hands together and they're hunched over and they're like ee, and she's like, I
have a gift for you, Picard. I think you'll really like it.
Yeah, they're talking like the Joker.
Sir, I think he's lying.
You can see his fingers are crossed behind his back. Like, what makes you say that, Deanna?
Explain.
Yeah, this is a great episode. 9 out of 10. If you don't watch Star Trek and you listen to this, watch this episode. It's worth it. No seconds are wasted.
I would say the same thing. If you don't watch Star Trek, I would not recommend any of those other episodes we've watched. This one's entertaining. I think if you don't know Star Trek, you'll be entertained with this.
It's fun regardless. I got this.
What you think will entertain the people?
Huh?
If they take that little gun out of their pockets, their little phaser gun.
Oh, I actually have a box right here that has those. Do you want me to pass you one?
Yeah, could I get one, please? Yeah, there's a setting on there. I don't know. Oh, it does. I see it right here.
Okay, sweet.
So take yours.
Where's it on yours?
Right now.
Okay.
So I'm about to place it to goodbye.
Okay, place it to goodbye. Okay, I'm setting it to goodbye. Okay. Oh
my god!
Oh my god!